with all of the craziness in the news, I think it's time for a meme review. And starting off, I'm going to ask everyone to please shut off their cell phones. Steve.
Man, I'm sorry about that. That was a pharmacy.
Blame it on the pharmacy. So we got Miss Nikki on the far right. We got Ariel. How's it going?
Hello.
We got Charlie, and we got Steve.
Sorry, man. My pharmacy was calling, man. It's a brain thing. I don't know what to say.
It just takes one look at him and you know he needs medicine.
What are you talking about?
If you're listening on audio, by the way, thank you for hundreds of thousands of downloads on the audio. Steve's wearing a tinfoil hat. So anyway,
I don't know what to say.
If you're still on audio, make sure you tune in once in a while because you'll see Steve and his crazy antics. So I think we're going to go ahead, and we've got Mr. Producer over here, Ryan, producing. Thank you.
What's up?
Yep. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started here, and he's going to pull up our first meme. Do you got to start at the beginning, bud? Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and start. So here's the first meme, and we're going to react to it. A man only needs 4 things: family, hydration, steak dinner, and watching the IRS burn.
And a good tinfoil hat.
Okay. Well, that's some men. Some men. You know, there's a steak dinner's enough. But any reactions to that? Pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's a simple meme. It makes sense. Next one, Ryan.
I like the steak dinner part.
Okay. So when someone says that you're going down to Costco, Trump, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Where were they doing that at? In
Ohio.
Yeah.
And so
they must be.
Whether or not it happened, and I believe it did, the memes are funny. Whatever you think, the memes are funny. Someone put, and I should have gotten this for this. Someone put, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats to Linus and Lucy. Bum 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 bum. They're eating the dogs. Da 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 da. They're eating the cats.
Bum, 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 bum. They're making duck gumbo. Bum 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 bum. Oh,
You
excuse me.
know that would make Snoopy very nervous.
It would. He's looking at them Haitian illegals and going, "Get my Red Baron gun out quick."
He might think that brother and
You know,
Peanuts
they-
is a Haitian, huh?
They think this is funny in America. You know, we're looking. But in other countries, they really do this. They really do eat cats and dogs.
Well,
and
it's not a stretch, and it did happen. But it's not a stretch, and so that they definitely will eat whatever, and that leads to a whole bunch of health and safety concerns.
Well, think about this. Okay.
You guys do know where monkeypox came from.
Well, think about this. You come from a country where most of the population has very little food. Most of the population is practically starving.
But why do
Then
they
you
have...
come to a country where you got food running all over the place.
Yep.
Everywhere it's running. Look at it running around in the neighborhoods. They're running all
just gonna
over.
take it.
You go to a park, and all of these
yeah.
ducks are all over the. Throw some bread there, and you walk over and just catch one with your hand.
yeah.
You know, I've often said
think
that
about it.
for a serious point here, we've got so many feral pigs in America. There is no reason for anybody to be going hungry.
I
Yep.
agree, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
you could have some
There's-
good tasting pork and bacon.
boy, and it is
It's a
some good
lost-
tasting pork.
It's a lost art. Next
son.
meme. Next meme. Okay, so you have to play this one, bud. Turn it up. Okay, wait for it. So that's the end. Here we go. This is Paul to Corinth, Galatia, Corinth again, punching him through the letter. Philippi. So I love the meme. It's a meme template. It's got the Elmo, and he's slowly looking into the camera like if looks could kill, and it says Paul to the letter from Paul to the Church in America, and it's got like the doom music playing, burp, 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 and Elmo's just staring angrily into the camera. But yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Stay the same.
Mr. Producer, go ahead and pull up that next one and get it queued up because there's another one from the same animation studio. I think it's funny. Okay, so you're gonna have to.
What are we
Here we
looking
go.
at?
This is Jesus and Peter. Cuts the priest's ear off. And then Jesus is just sitting there in chains as his disciples are running away, and they totally miss the point of the evening. And the guys that said they're never going to leave him leave. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Go ahead and mute that.
Boy, that's a sad one there. And the thing is, how many times are we doing that ourselves today?
Ryan.
So
Okay, go ahead. Put it up there. Put it up there. Put it up there. Because Ryan, you can't ruin the surprise because Miss Nikki has no game face. She's going to read
she
it.
has no ability to stay focused.
Chinese restaurant. We do not have your cat or your dog. Try our orange chicken. It tastes perfect.
Oh wow! Oh
It's
wow!
very perfect.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Producer. You got to hide the meme until the last second here.
I like my.
It's
Chinese
interesting that they got a veterinarian clinic next to that place.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a pipeline there.
Yeah.
Next one, Mr. Producer.
Do you have cats or dogs?
I have a guinea pig and I also have a dog. But I've heard people like in Peru, they eat guinea pigs. And so
Oh, my
whenever I'm
goodness.
talking to like my boyfriend about my guinea pig, he's always all like, oh, well, we could eat him because that's actual, like, people actually eat that. And I'm like,
What are we?
no,
We're
don't
going to
eat my
open a
guinea
new
pig."
franchise, Guinea Nuggets.
Guinea nuggets. That's it.
Ooh, hey, I got deep fryer. You know,
Oh man!
Okay, well, I can't read this one.
So go ahead and pull it up, Mr. Producer. Feel free to get those camera angles. Okay, so we've got Obama, Pelosi, and Kamala Harris. And either you quit or we'll make you. And Joe Biden looking sadly at Kamala cackling as she walks away. Then he puts on a Trump hat. Do y'all remember when Joe Biden endorsed Donald Trump?
yeah, he had that hat on.
I'm just saying, having Joe Biden's endorsement is very much appreciated. Some people say, some people say, I'm not saying, but Joe Biden endorsed Donald Trump.
Did
so.
you see that when he put the hat on?
Yes. And
That
then
was- I
he
don't
looked.
know.
I don't know if he was all there or if he was just like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. I'm so angry right now. I think that was the face. Either that or he had some gas. I couldn't tell. He's not necessarily all there.
But you know what's
Probably
really
both.
sad there is that when you think, and I'm not trying to single out Democrats. Everybody's got their issues, right?
No, go ahead and single him out.
But to me, it's a total lack of respect. I don't agree with Joe Biden, never have, on his politics. Never have. And I've been around long enough when he started in the Senate. And I'll tell you that regardless of whether you agree with his politics or not, he's served a long time, and I think he's owed some respect. Now, honestly, I don't think he's really been all there mentally for the last 4 years, and he's been controlled by people. But that right there speaks to a very sad state in our political system, and I don't think it's right what they have done to him. It is interesting that he put that hat on. I would love to know if he did that out of choice or
I
Or
don't know.
blithering.
yeah, but I don't think we'll ever know.
My
No.
bet is probably both.
And it could be.
All right. So next meme, sir. You got this, Mr. Producer. I believe in you. All right. So why would God involuntarily drag you into his presence for all of eternity if you spend a lifetime voluntarily distancing yourself from him and his holiness?
Hello?
Ooh.
Hello? Hello? No, put it back up there. Put that back up there. That right there is a question that you should be really contemplating right now. Maybe hit the pause button.
Think about that for a minute.
That's a strong one.
I think it is.
You like the look on that
Go ahead,
bunny's
Mr.
face?
Producer.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Huh?
All right. So the first day of homeschooling, everything the state says is a lie, and everything that it has been stolen.
Well.
I mean, that was my experience.
How about that?
I think it's true. Go ahead, Mr.
Interesting.
Producer. Next one, and scooch over. Okay. So hear me out. We let the Haitians eat the furries.
Hey,
Oh my.
tell them they're cat. Well,
Yeah, they identify as cats.
We just lost our furry audience.
And in the schools in Pennsylvania where my aunt is from, she's been hearing back, and literally there are children who were self-identifying as a cat, and the janitors have now refused to take out the litter boxes because they've gotten tired of removing human feces.
I would too. It's not part of my
From-
job description.
Yeah, like absolutely,
doing it.
absolutely not. So I'm all for the Haitians eating those furries, no matter what age they are. It's kind of like
You're
veal
kidding.
in steak,
You're kidding. You're kidding.
maybe.
You're kidding. Not really. It is a child. Just because they think they're a cat, they're still a child.
I don't know. There's some stuff you can't fix
they
anymore.
need some training.
You know what bothers
Be
me
potty trained.
is that
Yeah.
children outgrow a lot of things that they like when they're children, and they're going to be so embarrassed. It's going to be so embarrassing.
Well,
You know what the saddest
they're
thing is?
older.
Children desire boundaries.
yes, they do.
And what these parents have failed to do is give them boundaries.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
What did God give us?
Yeah.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Why?
Because they're for our benefit. I mean, we have to live within the. And you know what?
So what does it say to the children when you don't set those up?
There is no God.
Yeah. Well,
Or
not
he
that.
doesn't, or I don't love you enough.
right. That's what
to
it said.
care enough to set up a boundary.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
I
right.
don't care enough about you.
Next meme. That was a deep rabbit hole dive. Not what I expected on that, but it's what came up.
Ooh, and didn't even run a lot.
Go ahead and get her up there. All right, so I want you guys to
what
watch
was
this
that?
car accident here.
Oh, my lands.
All right, so who was at fault here?
I
I'd
believe the
say
car was.
car.
The first car that pulled out there.
Yeah.
How much do you think the settlement was for that?
Oh, that's
I'd
a
say
boatload of money right there.
that little car that caused the accident
first off, did they live?
probably made bunches of money.
Well, they didn't live because they were never alive. That's not a real car.
Uh-oh. It was a.
It was a computer generated, and I don't know if it's AI. I believe that it's actually an Unreal Engine graphic. So that
Okay,
is
now that I
is
look at it, yeah,
It's-
pay
it-
more attention to it. It looks like it's
There's a reason I threw this in
generated.
here. If you read the comments, half the comments are saying, "Okay, I can see it's fake." The other half believe
Believe
it's
it.
real. So next one,
I
Mr.
can
Producer,
see that it's
bring it
fake
up
now.
and I want you guys to watch this one. So go ahead and bring it on. What do y'all think? Real or AI?
Real? It looks real.
That one didn't.
It looks real. It is AI.
All of it?
All of this. Now, I believe all of it is.
So how are we going to tell in the future? Because that
And
was with
this-
Ariel. Ariel, look, it looks real.
It looks
So
real.
Ariel, how in the future? Because you could produce videos to convict somebody, and it's not real at all.
Yeah, that's true. Like with people like making somebody look like they said something that they didn't say. Like that's really scary.
Yeah. So that there's got to be a way to know that this is not a real video. How
Right
are
now
they
there
gonna-
is. Right now there is, and so there are some things that's very easy. So I was just in a show. We did a big old show downtown, and one of the guys had all of his pictures of people were AI generated, and I'm not going to show the pictures here. I could show it to you guys afterward, but I'm not going to show you pictures I took of his presentation on a podcast. But you could tell because there's extra fingers and there's extra whatever. The faces look distorted in some places. Some of them were good enough to use, and most people didn't know. But it wasn't a stock photo. It was an AI-generated photo this guy was using. When you get down to the granularity, AI, all AI image to image is right now is a type of denoising. So what they've done is they've taken about 4 trillion images, okay, and they have gotten a program to understand and recognize tokens. So let's say one of the tokens is animal, vegetable, or mineral, right? It's human, it's a dog, it's a cat. Okay. So that's one axis in a coordinate system. And then the y-axis would be like color. And then the next axis would be orientation. Now add an additional 500 to 800 axes into this coordinate system where all these images are stored in this multi-coordinate system. It's a 600 something axis coordinate system. It's a kind of mind-bending. Whenever you type in an image or a request for an image on your AI art generator, it is going to say, okay, I'm looking for a token somewhere on this axis, and I'm looking for images that are real images, but they have had noise introduced into the image. They blurred them. And then the computer will try to de-blur based on that coordinate system where it is in that 500, 600 axis logic space. That's called the latent space. And so actually you can get the same image every time if you use the same seed number in addition to which is just a coordinate with your description. The reason I say all of that is all of these images were denoised artificially because they were drawing out of that latent space. Right now, we can tell that the image has been denoised. In the future, it's going to get significantly harder unless AI model providers provide some sort of basic, like a printer code. You know how a lot of numbers on printers, actually, the numbers are letters. There'll be one that has a microscopic serial number for the printer that it came off of. The problem with requiring that of an AI company is that not all the AI companies are going to do it.
Yep.
So you're only putting a demand on the AI companies that are honest. The dishonest ones will continue. Those will always be available via the dark web. It's going to be a constant cybersecurity style race to understand AI. I know that was a long response, but did it make sense?
But there's challenges with this
Yes, I was
moving
thinking-
forward in the future, especially legally.
That's what I was worried about was the legal.
They can forensically tell right now that it was denoised. Right
They-
now.
The problem you're going to have with it, where I see, is politics
Yes.
and
And
the government using it to
Gavin Newsom.
convict people who are innocent of something that they want to lay on someone that is innocent of something, and they want that person to take the rap of something from someone else.
Mr. Producer, I'm sending you a link. Go ahead and pull this up. It's in the group chat. Gavin Newsom recently actually he provided a edict against AI or deceiving memes. And so go ahead and pull that up and let us know when you do. I'm going to talk about it for just a moment. Now, I think that this is an infringement on free speech, but it is concerning. It can be liable. Go ahead, pull it up and just kind of scroll down just gently for people. But he actually created a ban. It's like 180-day or whatever, or 90-day ban pre-election for deepfake memes. Now, that's not going to hold. Thank you, Mr. Producer. That's not going to hold. But what you're going to find is that there's a lot of people on X who will make deepfake memes on the left and the right. And I don't like it.
Okay, so if they're doing this, I think what the law should require is that you say what it is. It's, you know what I'm saying? You can't present it as it's true. You would have to present it as, you know, isn't this funny? This is a meme. You have to let the person know
Yeah.
that this is not a true scenario.
Otherwise, so I think that you have to have intent in that. You can't make that a standard because it's an impossible standard. Because once you say it in your post, but then it gets shared, who's now liable for the sharing? Because some idiot takes your post and removes your warning.
Yeah, but can't they bring that back? And can't they trace that back
Hopefully.
because anybody can take your words.
It's a huge political quagmire.
As a matter of fact, it is very important because think about scripturally. If you add to scripture or you take away from God's word, there's a great punishment for that.
And I think that God considers false witness one
Yes.
of his 10 commandments to not do.
Yes.
And so it's going to become interesting really quickly because all of our voice prints, whether you're on this podcast or not, like just it's available. If you weren't careful reading your terms of service for your games or for Zoom or for a number of other things and you accepted certain rights and privileges, now Adobe Suite actually, are you guys familiar with Adobe software? Video editing and Photoshop, all that stuff is in Adobe.
Yes, I work with Adobe. Yes.
They make it so that you have to say all of the information that I have on Adobe's software suite is AI training material. And that is your agreement with them now in their terms of service. So your voice, your photos with your family and all the things that you
Belongs
do,
to them.
if it's under Adobe's umbrella, it belongs to them. They have rights at least. It doesn't belong to them exclusively, but they own the right and license to use your stuff for AI data training now. So that's why a lot of people I know are...
I need to get a voice changer.
There you go.
So that you can be unburdened
By
what has been.
And to be what's going to be because it was being
Space.
when it was being.
It is vast.
So it's going to be what it had been to
And it
be
brings us
before what
together.
it's going to be before.
Help me, Ryan, please. Thank you. Okay, so I like this one. Go and bring it up. Censorship is the child of fear, the father of ignorance, and the weapon of tyrants.
I would say, yeah.
Say it one more time. Censorship is the child of fear. Let's take that for a moment. Go ahead, Mr. Producer. Censorship is the child of fear. Break that down. What do you think that means?
You're afraid to have things voiced because it'll come against you.
You're afraid of the truth because
Yes.
the truth will set someone else free.
Yep.
It is the child of fear. What else is it?
The father of ignorance.
The father of ignorance.
I refuse to be educated or have my mind changed.
Why do my people perish? For a lack of...
Knowledge. So all right. So Ariel, you're a young college student and you have heard about people going in and wanting to take books out of the school for younger children that may be pornographic in
Right.
nature. So how do we differ when we say censorship? We don't want censorship, yet we want to go into the schools and we want to remove books.
I think that's like very difficult, and that's what I was like struggling to understand. Is like I feel like some censorship is good, like for people who are not able to discern like as properly as we should. Like I sometimes feel like me like keeping myself from like different types of social media like is a good thing, even though it leads me to being ignorant in some areas. Especially like politics for some reason, but I don't know because like I just feel like there's like a trade-off for everything, and so that's what's like really confusing. Is like I feel like some censorship is good, but I don't know where the line is.
So
I
the question
think
is,
that's a
what
good
is
point, though.
what is censorship, though? Because I think we have to define that term before we use it.
Well, I think it's not, I wouldn't consider it censorship. Why introduce material to innocent children?
Because it's not free speech, and that's the issue.
But we used to have a right.
Corn
to,
corn has never been free speech.
No.
It has never been free speech until the late 1990s when a Supreme Court
I was
decision
going to say the
decided
Supreme
that
Court
it was
said
art.
it was.
And
Yep.
we've always understood it to be a privation, right? So this new once you divorce God from reality and morality, you can then justify
Anything.
a immoral act that was a punishable offense by death, I'll say, by the way, you can now justify that as an expression of self. But when it's in the public square, I'd make an argument that when it's done in private too, it's just as damaging. But the public square, there's a multiplier to that, where you're now and you can't have smut. Most people would agree, but we're losing this. You can't have naked people dancing in a window in front of a preschool. Most people would agree. Oregon, I'm looking at you, you rats.
Hello?
Now, the rest of us know that that is not free speech. That's not artistic expression. That is deviancy. And that is actually, there's a moral evil being perpetrated on the child. So is it free speech?
Well, I'm going to say it's also over the parent should be the one who decides when material. So when you say you can't have that in public school, that's not saying that child can never have access to that material. It's saying the parent should make that determination, not the school. And so we are taking the authority away from the parents.
Let me back it up further. It's not about the parent having the right. It's about the school not harming the child. Because if a parent showed their child a man with his tongue in another man's bottom, which is what we're talking about here, okay? Now, I don't want to be too gross, but when that's what we're talking about, yeah, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. And I only say that because if you don't know that, that's what we talk about when we say, I don't want to see that picture. And I don't want to put that picture in a fourth grader's face. Like, that is it's not even about the parents. It's about you've committed a crime.
Yeah, I feel
if you show a child that.
Yeah.
It's not censorship. It's no. You just exposed a child to nasty.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
stuff.
criminal deviancy is what that is.
It's exploitation
Criminal.
of a child, and it's child endangerment.
And it's really what I would call it's limited. It's not like censorship for the whole country or for the whole town or for whatever. It's really a judgment call.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think parents have the right to show their fourth grader that. I actually don't.
I don't
agree.
I actually don't think you have the right to show your child that, and that's why I'm saying you're right that the parents should have the right to bring their children into the coming of age with the birds and the bees. Showing your child corn that is like, we're talking the most debauched stuff that exists, stuff that I didn't even know existed until recently, partly due to reading the books that were censored. That's not your right as a parent either. I'm sorry. When they're 18 or 21, you can, but when they're a child,
we used to have perimeters for children and keeping them innocent, and we really need to go back to that.
Bring shame back. Like, I'm sorry, shame is a good thing.
Yes, shame can be a very
shame
good
is
thing.
a good thing. So sorry for your ear holes being hurt, but you did need to hear that if you don't know what they are showing fourth graders
In
public school and you think it's censorship. No. Go look up the books if you dare. I just saved you a lot of trouble. I gave you a little bit of trouble to save you a lot more. It's worse than what I just said.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So you're saying that those things are being shown in public school? Like, at least when I was in public school, that stuff was not being shown to me.
A lot's changed in the last 4 years.
And also, like,
Well,
my
not
brother-
only that, Ariel. I think the important thing to understand here, and John Arthur singled out Oregon. Oregon is probably one of the most progressive states, shall we say?
Regressive.
I'll thank you. Good term.
Don't give it to them.
California ranks up there, but Oregon seems to have this bent of wanting to lead the way. And so in some areas of the country, this kind of thing is much more prominent. In a state like Texas,
Yeah.
you may have it, but you're going to be hard pressed to find it. In
gonna
Oregon, you're going to find it.
You're going to have independent school districts that, behave differently. You're going to have activist librarians that perform
Yes.
differently
Yes.
in each school district. And you got to remember that it's on the nationally approved list. That doesn't mean that you have a deviant librarian in your district. It means that there are deviant librarians who are now free
to
to
advocate for it.
expose and to shove smut into children's faces. So faces. I'm
Your
tired.
faces.
Faces.
So that is the issue, is that there are a lot of people who are, and there's this nominative bias, right? It's like, it didn't happen to me and it's not normal, therefore it doesn't happen. That's not necessarily true. I think not, there is something to be said about what's normal, right? And the abnormal, though, is the thing that we base the rule on. That's why we have laws. People usually don't go and steal. We still have a law against theft, because with every sin comes more law. That's a biblical concept.
We do have a law, but there are some states that are not enforcing the law.
And there's that too. And,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I think, and I have no apology for this, I'm all for putting a teacher who does that, I'm all for putting their head on a pike and then planting the pike outside.
You
and
are a violent person.
Outside the front
You know
of
what?
the school.
You know what? It's because here's the thing: violence is the only deterrent. You will always set, by martial might, deterrence. We have lapsed on that so far that
Force.
we have people who have decided that they can get away with it, and that's why the dad who goes and takes care of the person who did whatever to his daughter, that's why there's an innate, he was going to sit in prison for 10 years and get out. All of us know. It's like, no, that dad's right. That dad is correct. And that needs to happen more often by the state, not by the man.
We need to give less rights to criminals and more rights to victims and their families. I think everybody would agree with that. Everybody would agree with that.
We talked about rights. I think you don't lose rights. I think you lose your life after a certain point. How many times can you rob a bank with armed before you just say, this person's going to kill someone at some point? I don't think you have the right to live anymore. You keep throwing that gun around, there's going to be a point where it goes off. You keep touching little children. You keep, offering candy to get in the van. You keep showing them smut in school. There's going to be a point where you take something from a child that's invaluable.
There needs to be stronger laws.
No.
Hold on.
Let her cook, and then you can cook.
Yes. You know what? We used to have laws, and it really, in society, went quite well. And not everybody was, I still believe in the death penalty. I would tell you, I don't think I could ever participate, but I do believe in it. And I think it is for murderers. I think if you murder somebody, first degree murder is the death penalty, and you don't get 25 years.
Someone who takes the innocence from someone, though.
And and you've got to be, you better have some good, evidence against that person.
I agree.
And they should be able to appeal. I believe they should have the right, but not 25 years of it.
Appeals.
So I believe in that. But we used to have laws where, men went to jail, and that was a shame. And you just didn't have the crime that we have today. I mean, people.
So we need stronger laws.
Well, we need stronger penalties.
No, we
The
don't.
thing is that what we have is
We don't enforce the death penalty.
Thank you very much.
Correct.
When it's necessary, and we also so what we've done is we've lowered the consequences, and we've increased the amount of
Consequences.
infractions.
the problem
Okay,
that we've
consequences,
got
yeah.
are our district attorneys.
Yeah,
They are not enforcing the laws that are on the books, and they are allowing things to whatever criminals to get away with whatever by allowing them to either have free bond or bail or whatever the case may be, or a super low one through the judge, because the judge gives it to them super, super low,
yep.
especially with those that have a tendency to do bad things to children.
And so it comes down to, have like a 2-year or a 3-year turnaround for a grown man who touches a child. And I'm not talking about, something benign. I'm talking about absolute.
Right,
It's
I understand.
indefatigable
Right.
evidence that he did it, and he
And that's
admits
what-
that he did it.
And so I think when I say stronger penalties, 25 years for something like that. I mean, 25 years in prison is the majority of your life.
I would dare say that we have the laws that we need in this nation. If we were consistent in
Okay.
applying them and executing them, this nation would not be anywhere near
I
where
agree.
we are at today.
Who invented prisons? Do you remember we talked about this?
Yeah.
Jeremy Bentham. He's a utilitarian. If it was so, Ariel. Jeremy Bentham was a Brit, and he said, if it is pleasurable, it's moral. If it's unpleasurable, it's immoral. What do you think's wrong with that?
It doesn't go against like God's word.
It goes against God's word. It doesn't go with it, right? But also, the moment you have a man who has ill intent towards a young lady, right?
It's pleasurable for him. but
pleasurable
it
for
doesn't-
For him.
So that logic breaks, right?
Right.
It's an easy break in the logic. Every single person who's in prison did something that was pleasurable for them and not so pleasurable for someone else.
That's a problem.
And that's a problem. So that's a problem with it. Now, his view was that prisoners could be rehabilitated with time, with a timeout. And so they would be put in a prison where they were kept comfortable, the best accommodations, and they were told about their wicked, wicked ways, and they would somehow repent and turn. You go further back, prisons were a form of slavery. And it wasn't prisons, it was chain gangs, quarries, and, mines. And that was the way that the pagans administered punishment. What were the three forms of punishment that God ordained?
Yeah.
What were the three forms?
Well, you did have the death penalty.
Death penalty,
You also had repayment,
restitution,
restitution, and then you did have
corporal punishment.
yes.
You could get 39
Lashes.
39 lashes or 39 canes.
Right.
And so you look at Singapore. So who's someone who does this today? Singapore.
Singapore.
What happens if you spit gum? Do you know what happens if you spit gum on the Singapore sidewalk? I think it's 10 hits with a baton. You get tied up and you get whacked 10 times with a police baton. Do you know what you'd never see on the streets of Singapore?
Gum.
Gum. And you don't see people spit on it either. So people go to Singapore, Americans go to Singapore, Westerners, they go, oh, wow, this is so beautiful. This looks fantastic.
It's so clean.
Why can't we be this clean in America? Because they have consequences to bad behavior. I can tell you there's a lot of people, if they were at risk of getting nothing life altering, just whacked with it, like they're going to have a hard time laying down in their bed for 2 weeks. Okay. I'm sorry. That sucks. But guess what?
You remember there was a young boy. Well, he was a teenage boy. He wasn't a young boy. He was a teenager. And he did something in one of these countries that had that. And he was going to be caned 3 times. That was it. 3 times. And his parents fought for him. That thought, oh, that was cruel. It was 3 times, right? Just 3 times.
Gosh.
And they fought like crazy to try to get him out of there and, him not to have to take that. And it was something minor. I don't know if he threw trash in the street. It wasn't terrible. But he got caned 3 times.
Good. He never forgot that. That boy will die an old man remembering the time he threw trash on the street.
My boys would probably say, 3 whacks, no big deal. I can take that.
Probably not going to do it again, but I'll
You
be
get
okay.
hit by a cane and you'll think different
I know, but-
on your skin.
Yeah.
Buddy, I tell you what, even if you're wearing a shirt and you get hit by a cane, your shirt splits and your skin splits.
Yeah. I didn't try
It
to. I
is
didn't,
not pleasant.
well, I don't think there was anything other than bruising that happened to this young man. I don't.
What was the last part of censorship? Ryan, bring it up.
Oh my
Tyrants
goodness,
see
we
it as
went
a
all around
weapon.
the world.
Yep. Use it as a weapon. Is the weapon of tyrants. Go ahead, real quick, just so people can see it one more time. So, censorship. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Censorship rather than truth and honesty. And what do most tyrants do? They lower the cost of a lot of the crimes. They'll up the ones that attack them personally, but they will reduce the crimes against the citizens, the punishment
Like
for those
what's going
crimes
on now?
against the citizens.
Yes, and like what's going on now.
Look at January 6th.
Yep.
Whatever you think about what happened that day, those people were let in. They were let in by Capitol Police, and they were toured around. And now they've spent, some of them, 4 years in prison for being let into the Capitol.
Those sentences are way more severe than any other comparable.
I'm sorry,
And none of them have seen a judge.
And so you keep that in mind while you are allowing riots that have offed people in the streets. There are dozens of people dead or brutally maimed for life from the Summer of Love in 2020 with the Black Lives Matter riots. So you look at those people and you look at, and again, the numbers are wrong at who and how many people were hurt or injured during the J6. It's a lie. But you look at those political dissidents. In the meantime, if it's your shop, if it's your people, if it's your family member that's hurt, they lower it. That's what tyrants do. They use censorship. They censor, mostly peaceful but fiery protests as there's a building burning down behind the CNN reporter. Oh, you were invited into the Capitol by a Capitol Police officer.
And
I'm sorry.
escorted.
And I don't like you. Even though there's recorded video evidence, as Ms. Nikki is saying, I'm still going to put you in jail for 4 years because you wrong think.
And I'm going to lie about everything.
So just remember, censorship, truth, for truth's sake, is good. Mr. Producer, next meme. This is a deep dive. Lord, give me a sign. Meanwhile,
You got one.
there's a guy, for those of you on audio, he's sitting underneath a sign. He's been bonked by one.
I think that's a
Does it
female.
say no
I don't think
parking?
that's
Is it a
male.
female? Okay.
Look at the legs. Those look like a female legs.
Well, that's a very flamboyant
Does it
male.
say-
Lord,
It
give
is,
me a
yeah,
sign.
Yeah.
It's
Be more
probably
specific in what you ask the Lord for.
a female without a shirt,
Next one, please.
right? Isn't that what that is?
No, she's got a shirt
No,
on.
she got something. Okay, so this is the problem with Christians. Sometimes we do things. God 100% real, God real on the license plate. Guys, so think about what you're putting up there. Next one, Mr. Producer, go ahead. Okay, me at Bible study. God is in control. We should pray for the government and its leaders. Me at 3 a.m. on the internet. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Next meme. How to find out who's sabotaging your walk with Christ. Fred from Scooby-Doo is lifting the thing off and, it's been me the whole time. Next meme. Individuals whose ideas failed every time. Snidely Whiplash. Tom from Tom and Jerry. Coyote from Roadrunner. And, of course, Karl Marx.
Oops.
Ooh.
Oops.
Why do we keep trying? Go ahead, Mr. Producer. All right. Jonah, when God didn't send judgment to Nineveh. Congrats. Happy for you. Nice. All with the sour face
Oh,
kid.
look at that little boy. He looks.
But don't we have that? And so someone did a podcast on this, and I wish Jennifer sent these in. So we told her we were doing a meme review. She wanted to send those. I wish I had the podcast. Someone says, look at what Jonah would have been thinking when he was sent to Nineveh. Who was the covenantal relationship with? Israel.
Mm-hmm.
What was Israel doing at that time, in the time of Jonah? Rebelling. God didn't send Jonah to Israel. He sent them to where?
Nineveh.
Assyria. Nineveh. Mm-hmm. And what was he worried that they would do?
Kill him.
No, he was worried they would repent. He said, Lord, I knew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he says, I knew that you are a gracious God, and if they repented, you would forgive them. Why did Jonah say that?
That's a very telling
He wanted them
statement.
to be punished then.
Not only that, what did he not want the blessing to transfer to?
Oh,
Gentile.
What do you think he was thinking? He was thinking about those filthy Gentiles. He was thinking about those filthy Gentiles. He didn't want them to get a blessing or a covenant from God.
I think that's a really huge point to be made for Christians, because so many times we act and talk in such a way that we are against this group or that group and so on and so forth, that's not any better than what Jonah's doing or did. We really need to look at people through the eyes of Jesus.
Amen.
He came that all would repent, that all might be saved. Not a few, not a special chosen group, but that all. And I don't know what people think that word in Greek really means, but I know what it means. That word in Greek means all.
Means all.
Yeah, that's what it means.
A-L-L-all.
Area doesn't mean all.
Yes.
She told me that before we got started because she'd done a big deep dive study on it. Said it meant all.
Next meme, Mr. Producer. We're off the rails here. So I think he's going to pull up. There's 3 more from Jennifer here, or 4 more. So
Nope.
The Holy Spirit has given you everything you need to succeed, but you still try to do it on your own. This guy's wearing a baseball cap backwards and sunglasses on his shirt, but he's still putting his hand up to his head to try to
Brilliant.
cover him from the sun.
Brilliant.
I've
Next
seen a
one.
guy at a
That's actually
baseball
pretty good.
game like that one time.
Next one. Oh, you don't have the ATM one. That's okay, or ATM one. Oh, that's fine. We'll go ahead and move on because we're close to the end here. We're going to go ahead and read 3 stories. So I've kind of told you a little bit about this, Ariel, but for you and for those in the audience who have not experienced the bizarre internet subculture of spilling your guts online for random anonymous people to validate or invalidate your opinion. Am I the A-hole is a Reddit subthread where people can trauma dump and say, here's everything that's happened to me, blah, blah, blah. And did I do this right or did I do this wrong? And they are able to be anonymous. Steve, can you go ahead and pull up for me the one, am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's quote-unquote silent wedding?
Here.
Silent
wedding.
wedding.
Wedding. I'm going to start with one here.
Refusing to attend.
Yeah, I'm going to start with one here. Find that one, but I'm going to start here. I'm going to read the first one. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my niece or her parents pay me back for hundreds of dollars of perfume that she stole? I have a perfume collection that I started when I was a teenager, slinging burritos at my first job. I have over 400 bottles at this point. I take great pride in my collection and I use it. I am also happy to give people decants, samples, pour it out in a little bottle, of most of my bottles, let them sample or spray or 2, or even take a bottle as a gift. I have a big blanking issue. What I have a blanking issue with is my 17-year-old niece coming into my home under the guise of walking my dog, filling up bottles and selling samples to her little friends. She thinks that because I have so much that I wouldn't notice some missing or getting massive dents in them. Well, little Miss Entrepreneur failed to realize that her private quote-unquote Instagram wasn't friends only or whatever, and I saw each and every blanking story with the price and the sample she had. She used Instagram as her sales page, thinking her aunt wasn't going to see the tags. I tailed that bleep up and got a pretty good, or tallied that bleep up and got a pretty good estimate based on the cost per ounce. Thankfully, she picked most of the TikTok famous perfumes and not the more expensive ones. Some of the ones that she got though, they're $300 per bottle, and she was taking stuff out of there. So petty or not, I printed out an entire list of what she had taken, a price estimate, and handed it off to my sister, her mom, and I said that I expected to be paid back in full. Of course, her blanking sneaky little butt, that's not what she said, is never allowed in my home again. My sister got super upset with me and going on about how my niece is, quote, just a kid and kids make mistakes. I said, yes, kids make mistakes, and this is a great way for my niece to learn from hers. The argument is that now the money she was going to use for a car now has to go to pay me back. I don't care. She is lucky that I have no interest in involving the police, small claims, or any of that. But am I the a-hole? Or is this just, should I just let teenagers be teenagers?
This goes to what we were talking about earlier about consequences. The mother who's just letting her get off and not making her assume responsibility for her actions. So that's why we're in the culture we're in today. It's because parents don't want children to assume responsibility for their bad behavior.
Absolutely.
Was there a tally done up on that?
Yeah, it was it's quite a few $100s.
How old was the kid?
17.
Oh, she's not a kid.
That kid,
Yeah.
No, she's not a kid.
It's not a
that
kid.
lady is not the a-hole. I'll tell you what, that kid is lucky because as a 17-year-old, her aunt is lucky she didn't throw one wall-eyed fit.
Yep.
Go stomping over there and jump in that girl's little
She's stealing.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
drawers, to put it nicely,
Yeah.
for stealing from her is what it is. That's not being a kid. That's stealing. That's what that is. And not just stealing, but stealing to make a profit.
That's it, Charlie.
She's doing it on purpose.
This is a really, really, and I'll tell you, all the ones that you read from this thread are very similar. These are very sad, and it's heart wrenching. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would tell my wife to do. Part of me would say pursue it, but the bigger thing here is this is really sad. This is a family member. Forget it being a family member, but it's I guess it's even more egregious because of that,
And it's considered normalized behavior.
and that's the
Right.
issue.
So I'm going to go with a 95.5%. Okay, I'm going to go with 95%. The 17-year-old is absolutely an a-hole. 5%. You have 400 things of perfume? Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Absolutely not. Absolutely not at fault here. Not the a-hole. I think she's in the clear because you need, and if anything, she's taking more of an interest in her niece than her sister is.
Yeah, that,
You know, a
that is
17
telling.
Exactly.
A 17-year-old commits murder, they're going to be tried as an adult.
I don't think she's a kid. I think she could be tried. And the best thing that could happen to this girl is that she goes and personally puts every single dollar into the aunt's hands. Second best thing is
Agreed.
she could end up in jail for 2 weeks. The second best. Because I think I would rather have her of her own volition sort through it and pay it out. But if that's not an option, I mean, force is always possible. I think
will
it's less
say,
bad.
I will say the one other idea here would be for the aunt to maybe take this girl under her wing and say, "Look, you have a desire to make money here. Is that really where we're going? And if it is, let's channel this the right way.
Yeah.
Let's do what's right. Let's learn how to be an entrepreneur the right way.
Yeah. instead
But
of
after
stealing.
you've suffered consequences.
And then you're
for
going to
your
pay me
actions.
back when we're done with this."
Yeah. You're going to pay me back while we do this.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Steve,
Yes,
I want
sir.
you to go ahead and pull up the silent wedding. Am I the a-hole
Got it.
for refusing? Go ahead.
Mm,
Read it.
Oh, no. Okay. I so badly want to attend, which, isn't that?
No. Oh, no. They took it off from this morning to here. They took it off.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you. So it's been taken off.
Has it really?
Okay, so I'm gonna
Oh,
explain
okay.
it. I'm gonna explain it. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to go away and blah 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 blank blank blank? I'm not going to your wedding because you've demanded that we all learn sign language if we want to understand the vows at the wedding. Because we're going to have a sign language wedding. No, the groom, none of his family, none of her family or her are deaf. But because it's going to be unique and intimate and no one else is going to have this wedding where all of the vows are done in ASL, I want to have my wedding done in ASL. And if you want to take part and participate in the wedding, you have to know ASL. So the sister says, "You know what? No, have a nice life. Bye. I am not going to your wedding." Is the sister who does not go to the bride's wedding at fault here? Should she boycott the wedding and say no? Is she wrong? Is she wrong?
She's
Is she
not
wrong?
No, she's not wrong. I think that's. I think when you have a wedding, you're trying to share in a wonderful ceremony with your family. Making that type of requirement is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I just don't understand what the bride means about requiring to understand the sign language. Could you just attend it and just watch it and not
Thank
really
you.
understand
You
what's
could.
going
Thank
on?
you.
You could watch it. You could watch it and not understand anything that's going on. The bride said, "I want to be inclusive of deaf people." And the sister's question is, what deaf people?
I mean, but like, I feel like you could still just go and like show some sort of support, even if you don't really understand what's going on. I feel like that'd be like the nice thing to do.
I think you're spot on right there, Ariel, because in my mind, I will say this for the bride and groom, you need to understand what your marriage represents.
That's it.
And it's clear that you don't, because you've singled out a group of people.
Well, it's a fashion piece, is what
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
It's an accessory, like a handbag,
Yeah,
and that right there is
that's a problem.
Is where I, yeah. go ahead.
But I do agree with Ariel, and we're only talking about this person that is at the center of this. Just go.
I think
Just go. Sit there for an hour. Sit there for 2 hours. But what are you doing? You're supporting your sister. What is your job in going to that?
But it also sounds like the lady having the wedding is also kind of turning it into a social media post.
It's a fashion statement.
I agree with Steve there.
because of what she's doing.
Look
Nobody
at our
there's
inclusive
is deaf.
wedding.
What's the
what it
purpose
is.
of the silent? I mean,
Mr. Producer's laughing his head off,
let me fix this up here.
putting his tinfoil hat on.
Okay. I mean, really?
So that's where, and that's where I fall down to. I would have a hard time. So I don't have blood siblings. I have people that I'm very close to. The Pomeroys know some of these people, and I've just been to some of their weddings. I just went out and held one of them, their first baby. It was a pleasure. If they had said it's going to be an ASL, I think I would go, maybe. But I would be so hacked off. So hacked off. And I would say, look, what you did was disrespectful to God and to man, because the vows of marriage are to be within the context of you are speaking to people
There you
who
go.
are entering
That are
underneath
watching.
the institution of marriage. You're entering into this institution. The Bible says, what about tongues? There has to be an interpreter, or they have to be like
Yep.
real tongues. Like
Yep.
you have to understand what's being said. And the fact that you're speaking in another language just for pretentious presence, I would have a serious conversation with that sibling, and I would say, or friend, and I would say, wait a minute, this is gaudy, it's showy, and you're doing it for self-aggrandizement at our expense.
Yep.
And you are using us as a prop. I do not appreciate that. I would rather not come. Depending upon our relationship, I may or may not, because you're using me as a tool for your self-exaltation, and that just rubs me like sand in my
Yeah.
You're saying that because it's funny. I was thinking about I have two sisters, and I think each one of my sisters would come to me and say, "What do you think?" You know what I mean? I don't think they would come and say, "You have to do this." My sister would say, "What do you think about this?" And then I would, give her my opinion. Now my two sisters would.
Well, I'm sure that
but-
in this situation there was probably a conversation like that. But if the one is very strong in what they believe and the other one's not willing to back off what they believe, now you've got an impasse.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Steve, final one for the day.
Yes, sir.
Am I the a-hole for lawn work being done? Go and read the whole title.
I don't know. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay a neighborhood kid for cutting my lawn when I didn't ask him to?
Speaking to the mic.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Check this story out.
Read it.
I recently bought my first house, 29 million.
20 what?
I'm sorry. Did you say 29 million?
29 million. Not me personally now. Okay. This person that I'm reading about here.
No, she's 29. He's 29 male.
Oh, is that what that is?
I 29 male.
Well, you didn't
bought my
didn't
first
do that.
house.
It's like 29 million. They're talking about a house, right?
This is great.
I was gonna say it's not
So
gonna.
hey, man, I mean, come on. What
I
am
bought my house.
supposed to do?
I 29 male.
I'm settling in. I 29 male, and like the neighborhood, and a few neighbors even came by to say hello. They included a woman, 43 female. That's 43F.
Femillion. Sorry, keep going.
Millions, and her 13-year-old son, 13S. Not long after, I was on my couch one afternoon and saw the son outside mowing my front lawn. I was confused, since I'd never asked him to do it and he had never offered. I went out and politely asked him, "Hey, dude, what was he doing?" And he said, "Did it for lots of neighbors," and quickly added they gave me $5 for it. I found it really weird, so thanked him for the partial work he had done before explaining that since I hadn't asked or wanted him to do it, I wasn't going to pay him. He said okay and quietly left my lawn. I figured that might be the end of it, just a kid trying to make some money, resolved with no harm done, end of story. But the next day, his mom
Of course.
arrived on my doorstep and angrily asked me why I hadn't paid her son. I basically repeated what I'd said to her son, but she wouldn't accept it. She just kept saying that it was a kind gesture and that he does it for all the other neighbors. She also said 5 isn't a lot of money and I could have just gave it to him. I kept trying to explain that an agreement like that needs to be set up ahead of time. Otherwise, it's nothing more than a random demand for money.
Yep.
But she basically turned me out and ended up walking away as I was talking. I was amazed. The adult in the situation was handling it worse than the literal child was. I'm wondering how much longer this will go on for. That was last week. Every time I've seen her since, she's stared daggers at me or made a show of crossing the street to avoid me. I'm not instigating anything further. I really have no desire to speak to her, but I'm thinking she might try to send her poor kid back to collect the money or even mow the lawn again. I've vented about this to the family and friends, and while most seemed to agree with me, some said I should have been grateful and pay the boy. And just told them from then on not to mow the lawn. I can't tell if I've been an ass here or if my reaction to the whole thing was entirely justified.
Beep.
Am I the a-hole?
Beep. Better late than never. No, but so let's read some of the comments because I think some of these comments are interesting. Here's what someone says. Probably why anyone has pushed back against the OP, the original poster, is that they've done it and gotten away with it as well. $5 for a mowed lawn is a heck of a deal in terms of paying someone to mow your lawn. But you can't just show up, do unsolicited work, and demand money. That's absurd. The woman is clearly unhinged if she bothered to mention anything to the OP as well. Another one, if the payment, so this is the counterpoint, a counterpoint. If the payment was actually only $5, I'd low-key agree to it. That's criminally good. Or are these some small lawns and just 10 minutes of work? The poster comes back, and this is why I'm reading this one. It's not really the price that's the issue. It's just showing up and doing something without being asked and then expecting to be paid for it. But yes, it's a good price. You know, how much gas does a lawnmower go through? It's probably a lot. So that was I thought those were interesting interactions that should be shared. Miss Nikki, your thoughts?
Well, somebody to mow your lawn for $5 is worth it, because by the time you buy your lawnmower, your oil, and your gas, you're saving money. So in that scenario, I would be looking at, hey, I'm happy to do this. But I'd be feeling like I'm taking advantage of the young boy. However, you don't go on to somebody's property. Okay, this is where it comes to private property and rights. You don't show up, do work,
Correct.
because you have just entered into a property that you don't have permission to be on. That's number one. And that is just wrong. So the $5 mowing the yard, great. But don't enter into somebody's property. I mean, am I going to enter into somebody's property and wash their windows? Would that be different?
Not terribly. There's a privacy barrier difference, but yes, the point holds.
Yeah.
Yes, Steve.
I need my windows washed.
Ariel.
I think that the principle of just going onto somebody's property and just doing something and then expecting them to pay you is weird. Like if someone came up to like my door and just said, "Oh, I did this for you, and so you need to pay me this much," I would feel like really confused and like I would feel scared because like I would have a hard time like saying like no, or like I don't know what you're doing, and so just put me in a very uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah.
And so I just think that that's not really like loving to do.
Charlie.
If you have an expectation of any kind of receipt of payment, you have an obligation to get an agreement in place. And until such time, you keep off the property. Now, I disagree with Nikki on what she said. Here's why. There are a number of different people on YouTube, one in Florida, as a matter of fact, Sanford, Florida, that goes and mows properties that are run down. They've been overgrown. And when he goes and does that work, he does it for free. He doesn't expect anything in return. Now, is he going to get something in return? Yes. How is he getting it? From his YouTube views. Okay.
But what does he do before he goes and mows it? He says, knock, knock, knock. Hi, my
I'm
name
here.
is Bob.
Yep.
I run a YouTube channel. I want to mow your lawn for free. People find it satisfying and interesting. I'm going to have a little camera here. Do you mind?
And that there is the big difference. If I were the person that was in the middle of this situation and Mama came over and did that, I would say, Mama, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give him the $5. The next time he shows up, I will have police here for trespassing charges, and I'll have them out for you as well.
Well, you're being very strong, and I don't know.
I am being very strong
I'm
because
wondering what you're-
hold on, because this is an issue of somebody that is gone and just taken the precedent of saying, or the advantage of saying, I did work for you, you owe me.
Yeah. What I wanted to share there was, if
You
you
didn't let me
remember,
finish.
I know.
You're not
because
going to let me finish. I'll get my words in. You go ahead.
I was going to say, if you remember when we had our big house, and the boys down the street wanted to earn extra money, how they would come over and ask you, "Can I wash your car?" And you paid them every single time, but they always asked. But Charlie was always like, "These boys want to work for extra money. I'm going to pay them. I'm gonna help them out. I'm going to do it for them."
Knowing Charlie
Yeah.
probably overpaid him.
But let me tell you though, this would have been a great teaching moment. And if the boy had come back and asked for the money, I would have said, "Son, look, I think it's great that you're going out and doing this. You're doing this with an expectation of something in return. Let's do this. Let's do it without an expectation and see what happens." Because it was wrong for you
might
to
get
come.
more money.
But that's the thing. You came and you expected me to pay you. And you didn't ask me if I had the money to be able to pay you. That's a problem. So let's go with the attitude of no, I'm sorry, you're wrong on this. So let's go with the attitude of, look, you mowed my lawn, you did it for free this time.
You know, John Arthur, I don't want to hog the mic here, but
She's going to.
we have an interesting story. Is that we had a person in our neighborhood that she needed her yard done, and she had a lot of issues. So my boys, my teenage boy, I said, "You know what? this is a really good opportunity. We're going to go over there. We're going to mow her yard. Okay. So we mowed the yard. We did the edging and all that. She called my son back to make, but you didn't get enough. You didn't get all the grass off the sidewalk. And so it didn't become something we were, and that's how she ended up being, was she was demanding. She paid no money for the yard. And it was not bad work. It was the same that I required at my house, but she would be very demanding. And let me just say this. She did hire, because I told Charlie, I said, I can't do that to my kid because he's volunteering and he's being abused.
Correct.
So we quit doing that. She hired a lawn company and they fired her because
They
the
got
guy
tired of
said,
her.
because she would just stand out there and go, you missed this. I mean, it was just terrible. So it was one of those situations.
That
Been there,
business
done
model,
that.
that's where I come down to, is that I do things for clients for free all the time. And I say, if you want this done next time, this is the cost. But I'm giving you, you're already my client,
Yep.
and I'm bringing you this much as per our contract. I add a service because I believe it's going to add value to you. And I'm doing it as a gift. And there is an expectation. I hope that you see, but it's not, I'm not demanding anything. I hope that you see that it provides you value.
Yep.
And someday I hope that you would take me up on my offer for the service. That's very different
Yes.
than committing a service. And I don't mind as much. I mind it, but I don't mind it as much what the kid did. Because he mowed it and says, hey, I mowed the grass and everyone else has paid me $5. Could you? That bothers me. I can let it live. Mama bothers me.
Yes.
Yeah, Mama.
Mama,
A lot.
Mama is criminal.
Yep.
Mama is acting in a criminal fashion, whereas the boy didn't cross the criminality line. What Mama was demanding was a scam.
Yep.
What the boy did, as far as we can see, he went up to the line and he got uncomfortably close to the line in a way that I don't appreciate. But I'll let it slide. Just don't do it again.
Yep.
And I did growing up, I would do people's lawns. I still, my dad and I still mow all of our neighbors' lawns without expectation of pay. We just do it. But one time I actually mowed my neighbor's lawn. So this is the counterpoint, kind of what you're talking about. And he was trying to get a new culture of grass growing. I didn't know this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went and mowed his lawn. And so he comes over later on, like the next day. He goes, hey, John Arthur. Yeah, how's it going? Going fine. Did you mow my lawn? I did. Everything all right? He goes, yeah, you did fine. Don't do it again. And he explained, and I felt terrible because I went onto his property. Now, there's no fence between us, okay? So there's no fence between us, and I just real quick grazed his lawn. It's an extra little bit of a ride for me, but not a big deal. But in his case, he had something that he was doing specifically that my generosity, and it was generosity, I wasn't asking for pay, interfered with.
Yep.
So ask.
Yep.
Always ask. No, you're fine, dear OP original poster. You are not the a-hole. With that said, any final thoughts? If you enjoyed this podcast, like, comment, share, subscribe. Steve, got you halfway out there.
Yeah, you did.
We appreciate your viewership, your listenership. If you're on audio, thank you for hundreds of thousands of downloads. We're sorry that some of this was visual today, but we tried to explain most of it. YouTube, Rumble, thank you guys for being around. With that said, we love you so much. You have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Couch.
Ouch.
A couch. Or a couch, chaise lounge chair, or lawn chair, or a lazy boy recliner. Which one would you rather? You could only have one in your living room. Or let me rephrase that. If you could only have accommodations for a couch, lazy boy, or a chaise lounge chair? What would you pick?
Well, we don't have a couch in our living room. We only have recliners.
Okay, so that's an easy one.
A couch, because then you can sit next to your family.
Charlie?
I like that. Recliner.
I'm an old man recliner.
So
They sleep real well.
we have a couch that reclines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Fancy, says Mr. Producer.
Oh,
Mr. Producer. Couch.
Couch.
Out. He's a couch man. With that said, tell us in the comment section. You just muted me. Thank you. Tell us in the comment section down below.
Brian's like sleeping on the couch.
Chaise lounge chair, lazy boy recliner, or a couch. And let us know. Thank you. We love you so much. We got nothing else for you, truly. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.